everyone! Today's video is going to be super fun because we are going to be playing with the Mini Controversy palette. This is the collab that she and Dawson did with Jeffree Star. We all know this, I'm sure, otherwise you probably wouldn't be watching this video. But today we are going to be doing 3 looks with this. I wasn't sure at first if I wanted to just do a first impression or if I just wanted to go straight into the 3 looks, but I think that's what I'm going to do. So I do want to just do some quick swatches before we get into this because I know a lot of people really like swatches and I also kind of like doing the swatches myself just so I can kind of feel them and see what they feel like, because sometimes swatching palettes will give me an idea of how they're going to perform on the eyes. And I feel like the swatches here are pretty much as expected. I mean, there's nothing I can really point out that's sticking out at me. Like, they all seem to swatch very nicely. Totally forgot one. Let's go ahead and do the last blue as well. So my first impression with the swatches is that obviously the lighter ones don't really show up that well, but that is just because they are so light and they are pastel shades. So those are probably going to need like a very light base to be able to really make those pop. But otherwise, all of the mattes seem very nice and buildable, very pigmented. We're just gonna go straight into the looks. I'm gonna prime my eyes with my Natasha Denona eyeshadow base. And if you're new to my channel and maybe you missed my last video or something, I've already done a video with the Conspiracy palette. I'll have that linked up in the corner if you want to go check that out. Okay, so I'm not gonna lie, like I'm feeling a little bit stumped looking at this palette because I feel like there are just very obvious things to do. Like, you can either go in with this one in your transition, deepen it up with the brown and then do something on the lid, or you can go in with this one in your crease as a transition, use the darker blue, you know, to deepen it up with, and then do something on your lid. But I feel like mixing some of these colors in together is just a little bit tough. Obviously you can mix the blue into the purple, like color theory wise, but like mixing the brown in with the purple or the blue is just not really like my kind of idea. And so I don't really want to do like a monochromatic look. I kind of want to do like something a little different, you know, because I really try my best to not do looks that everyone else is going to be doing or something that's going to be very obvious. I try to do like the less obvious choices, if that makes sense. So I think we're gonna go ahead and do like a 2-colored crease. So I'm gonna start off with Dyed Root Beer and I'm going to put that in the inner part of my crease, and then I think for the outer part I'm going to use the purple. Like, I don't really want to mix these in together too much. Like, I don't want to use one as a transition shade and then one to deepen it up. I'd rather place them next to each other to kind of do something a bit, you know, out of the box. And wow, that is very pigmented. Like, this is the same shade that's in the big palette as well, and I used that one on my lower lash line in my first impression look and I didn't feel like it was as pigmented as this one. But then again, I also did not have a tacky base on my lower lash line, so I mean, it does make sense. So I'm just really packing this on here, and I'm also gonna make sure I try to blend out the edges here as I go. So I feel like maybe I pulled the brown out a little bit too far, but it's okay because I'm gonna go in with Controversy now, which is the purple, and I'm gonna be placing that in the outer half of my crease. I'm first going to start in my outer corner of my eye because sometimes purples have a hard time sticking on the outer corner, so I want to make sure I put down that shade there first. And once I've done that, I'm just going to start bringing it up into my crease as well as blend it into that brown. And I'm honestly so impressed by all the purples that I've tried from Jeffree Star. I mean, he seems to know exactly how to formulate the purple shadow, and he needs to teach other brands to do that because I don't know why they are having such a hard time with purples when, you know, Jeffree gets it right every single time. Like, I don't know, and I have a hair which is really annoying, but I don't know why they can't seem to do it the way that he can. I'm gonna go ahead and take this down to my lower lash line as well, since I am working on this shadow. And I think I want this to be more of like a wearable look. Now, I don't know what everyone's definition of wearable is, but to me a wearable look is probably a lot more lenient than, you know, other people's wearable looks would be. So if this isn't wearable to you, I'm sorry, but this is my definition of, you know, a more wearable look. So I'm taking this about halfway in on my lower lash line here, and then I think I might pop a little bit of that super light pink on the inner portion. I might also just go with the brown. I haven't yet decided, and then I think I just want to do like that kind of light champagne shade on my lid or something like that and call it a day, because I feel like this is, you know, toned down enough that no one's gonna look at you and be like, wow, you're crazy, like people normally do with me. So you know what, I think I'm just going to keep this a very cohesive look, and I'm just going to go back into Dyed Root Beer, and I'm just going to take that on the inner portion of my lower lash line here as well before I go in with the shimmer on the lid. And I think just to keep this look very simple, I'm just gonna go into my boyfriend's purse, which is this kind of champagne-y, but more like cool tone shadow. I'm not sure how I would really explain this, but I'm basically just going to take this and put it on the rest of my lid. I am gonna go ahead and spray this with some Fix Plus, just so I can see how intense I am able to get this. And I'm just gonna go ahead and place this everywhere, basically. Oh, and that is a beautiful shadow. That has way more intensity to it than I expected. Not doing a cut crease or anything, but I'm being like kind of precise without it being so precise that it looks like a cut crease. And when I get to the outer portion here where the purple is, I'm just going to try to gently fade this into the purple. I'll probably go in with a little bit more of the purple on top if I don't feel like the blend is looking nice here. I'm also just going to take a little bit of this shadow as well and just sort of wrap it around down to my lower lash line. So I am going to take a little bit more of Controversy, which was the purple matte, and just make sure that I'm happy with the blend on the outer portion of my eye here. So I feel like this is a very like easy and effortless look. I am going to finish off though. I'm going to put something in my waterline, do some liner and mascara, put on a lipstick, and then I'll come back and show you what the final look of look number 1 is going to be. So this is what the look ended up looking like, and I honestly really like this despite it being kind of on the neutral side for me, but I still think it looks really fun. And I did do a little pop into my waterline because I just couldn't help it. I just wanted to match my hair because I feel like I can't help but doing that when I have green hair. Like I just want to use green in my waterline all the time. This is Teaspoon by Colourpop, and then for my lipstick I used Hot Butter Drum by Too Faced. This is one of their holiday lipsticks from last year. I don't think these are available anymore. I'm so sorry, but I love this. And then on top I just used my Fenty Gloss Bomb, and that's the look basically. So I'm actually going to take this off again and then we can do another look because I want to play more with this palette and I want to be able to get these looks up to you as soon as possible. So see you in like a second for you and like 10 minutes for me. Okay, I lied. It's the next day. I took my makeup off last night and my eyes were like, nope. So here we are, new day. We're going to do another look, and I think for today's look I want to focus on some of the blues in this palette. So I think I'm going to first start off by taking this very light blue here, which is called Flat Earth, and I'm going to put that into my crease as my transition shade. I am curious to see if this is going to really show up on my eyes. I feel like it might be a little bit too light for my liking. I think that's one of like my complaints about this palette, is that I wish that these 3 shades here weren't that light, because there's really only so much you can do with these. Like I feel like you can't really do a look with like only these shades on their own, and I would imagine someone with a deeper skin tone not even being able to like have them show up on their eyes. So I don't really know how I feel about like the pastels in this. I just feel like they're too light to even be pastels. So I don't know. We're just gonna go ahead and try this. So I am going to, like I said, use this as my transition shade. Should probably tap out the creases in my eyeshadow primer here before I start. And I'm just going to try to build up this shadow as much as I'm able to. So I mean, I guess it does show up, but I just feel like you don't need a super light transition shade for like all of the other mattes in this palette, because that's basically what you have in here. You have 2 browns, you have one like transition shade or like setting shade to set your primer, and then a darker shade of the same color. And the same can be said with like the blues. There's 2 blues, there's also 2 like pink purples. So I feel like they kind of meant for it to be more of like a monochromatic palette kind of looks, and I just find that to be a little boring. So I wish that some of these lighter shades had been a shimmer instead, because it just would have made for more variety, because I just feel like being stuck with only one light shimmer, there's only so many looks you can do with that, and like I don't always want to have that shade like in my inner part of my crease or on my lid, you know what I mean, or in my inner corner. So I don't know, I just wish that this palette was a little bit different, I guess. I don't feel like this is a very cohesive color story. I don't know. And I'll probably get comments saying, you know what, I like that there is a transition shade to every other like darker matte, and that's totally fine, but we're all allowed to have different opinions. And that's just my opinion. So next up, I'm going to go into Cancelled, which is the darker of the blues here, and I'm going to use that to deepen up my crease with. And then I think I might just make this into like a smoky eye, but like a alternative smoky eye, and put My Apology all over my lid, because I do want to use this shade. This is kind of like a, what would I call this? It's like a dark coppery brown or something. Copper is not that shade, is it? I don't know. I'm so bad at like metallics, but it's definitely like a metal kind of shade. And I also just don't really feel like I want to use that together with the browns, because that would just make it into like a very boring neutral smoky eye, and I'm just not about that. So I'm gonna first go ahead and take that blue shade, which is called Cancelled, and I'm going to just use that to really deepen up my crease here. And this shade is beautiful. I really like this shade. And that is building so nicely on top of that transition shade. That is one thing that I do really appreciate about Jeffree Star's mattes, is that they are extremely buildable. Because most of the time, if I want to get like a very intense blue crease, I tend to go in with my darkest shade first and then blend it out with the transition shade. But knowing that I can do it this way with his shadow is kind of nice. And I feel like I'm pulling this over that transition shade so much that you can't even see it, because I just found it to be a little bit too light for me. But that's okay, at least I tried it and now I know what it looks like on the eyes. So I think this is looking really beautiful, even though I did cover up like most of that transition shade, but I prefer having something that's a little bit brighter, like going higher up on my lid personally. So next I'm gonna go into My Apology, like I said, which was this shade that I didn't know how to really describe. I'm gonna go ahead and give that a spritz of some Fix Plus here just to really make this pop. And I'm gonna start in the middle of my lid here, kind of low down. Sorry about the garbage truck outside. And I'm just going to pack that all over my lid, and then once I get this a little bit higher up, I'm going to switch to a different brush so that I can use a bit of a fluffier brush to really blend this into my crease here. So I'm trying to keep this mostly just like on my mobile lid right now. And this shade is definitely not like a metallic, it's more of a sort of satiny shimmer. It doesn't have like that foiled effect. So I feel like this could probably be used in your crease as well, or used to like deepen up a look with. I feel like this is going to blend out very nicely. And I don't really mind that, given that this is like the darkest shade in this palette. It's nice that the darkest shade is, you know, able to be blended out a little bit more easily than something that's very metallic. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch to a bit of a fluffier brush here. And I'm going to take a little bit of that same shade and just work on blending this into my crease now. And I feel like these two colors are going to blend pretty nicely together. Hopefully I'm going to be able to get a good blend here. I'm not really sure. I'm not used to really working with shadows like this and then blending them into the crease. And also this color combination is a little bit unique, but I think I'll be able to make this work. And I feel like that blended out very nicely here. I don't really know what I want to do for like the rest of this look. I'm thinking I might just do the same on my lower lash line. Maybe I'll use the purple or something on my lower lash line. Maybe that would be a bit much, but maybe I'll just do it anyway. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do the same on the lower lash line, because I feel like it's going to be a little bit too much of everything if I just try to do something different here. So I'm first gonna go into Cancelled, which was the darkest of the blues. I'm not going to use that pastel on my lower lash line because I just don't find it to be really necessary. And if I can skip a step and get the same result, I absolutely will. And I'm next going to go back into My Apology, and I'm just going to use that to really push that close to my lower lash line here, just so we can get the same result that I have on the lid. And I'm just going to go back in with a little bit more blue just to blend these two colors together here, and just to make sure that like the outer corners are blended and everything. So I really like this kind of weird like purple that sort of showed up when I blended these two colors together. I think that turned out really fun, and I don't know why I'm having such an issue like blending out this corner of my eye lately. Oh, it's just so annoying. But I think I'm gonna take a little bit more of that My Apology shade and just pop a bit more of this on my lid to really intensify this. I could probably use some glitter glue with this, but I am going to take this look off, so I don't really want to have to really rub my eyes too hard, you know. So I probably could, you know, get this shade to be a little bit more intense, but for the sake of my eyes, I'm going to skip doing that in this video. And I'm also not really having any fallout with this that I can see. Maybe just like a tiny bit of blue here, but it's very minimal, so that's always a good thing. I'm gonna finish off by just putting a little bit of My Boyfriend's Purse in my inner corner, which was the lightest shimmer in this palette. Just gonna pop a little bit of that right in here. And then a lot of black liner and mascara and lipstick later. And this is what the look is looking like. So for lips, I decided to go with something more on the cool tone side. I just felt like it would match a little bit better. I don't know, I went back and forth between like nudes and reds and just all kinds of different colors, and I ended up using Deceased by Jeffree Star. I don't know, I feel like this kind of goes with the look, and I kind of like the look. I'm not loving like my blends and stuff right here, but I think it's different. I think it's kind of cool. I think it's like a fun spin on like a colorful smoky eye. I don't think I've ever seen anyone use these color combinations before. Maybe because it's a bit crazy, I don't know. But I like how this turned out. So that's gonna be it for look number 2. Let's move into look number 3. Hi, I'm back. Excuse me for the absolute horrible cleanup around my eyes here. I always just take my eye makeup off when I do looks back to back. I don't take my whole face off, so if it's looking a little rough underneath my eyes, ignore that. That's not why we're here. We're here to play more with this palette. And I think for this last look, I want to do something kind of fun and different. So I'm first going to go into Controversy here, and I'm going to put that in the first half of my crease or so. And I'm also going to put a little bit of this like onto my lid. And you can probably see through my eyeshadow primer that the blue did stain a little bit. So just something to keep in mind if you don't like staining. Maybe don't use that shade like the day before you have to go out and not wear makeup or something. But I don't really care about staining. It doesn't bother me too much. So like I said, I'm going to take this shade about halfway across my lid or so. And then I'm going to go in with the blue on the outer portion of my crease. Like I said, I'm also going to take a little bit of this just like onto my lid here as well. And I'm honestly super curious to see like what other people think of this color story, because I can't be the only one who's like sort of struggling to make, you know, different looks with this that isn't just like the obvious. And then I know this looks crazy, but just bear with me, trust the process. I'm next going to dip into Cancelled here again. I really like this shade. This might be my favorite shade in this palette. And I'm gonna go ahead and place that in the outer portion of my crease, just kind of meet that up with the purple. I'm really going to pack this color on to make sure I get as much pigmentation out of this as I can here before I really start to blend it out. I'm also going to just connect that to my lid here. I'm actually going to go in with that purple on the outer portion of my lower lash line again, so I don't want to bring this down too far. I want to make sure that I have plenty of room for both of these shades on my lower lash line. I'm also going to take this onto my lid and just leave like a little bit of room like in the middle of my lid here. I think I'm gonna use the kind of champagne shade and sort of make a bit of a alternative halo eye or something. I don't know what I would call this. And I think just to kind of help blend out this purple in the inner portion, I'm gonna take a little bit of Exposed just because I haven't used this shade yet, and I just want to take a little bit of that and run that right on the edge of that purple just to get a little bit of a better, smoother blend. And I already think that this looks so cool. So what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna finish off with my lid. So I'm gonna go into my boyfriend's purse again, and I'm gonna go ahead and put that in the middle of my lid, like in between these two colors where I left a little bit of space. I'm first gonna just try this without spraying it, because I feel like it's gonna be a little bit easier to just blend it into the other colors this way. And then maybe I'll spray it a little bit just afterwards so I can intensify the middle. So I'm just kind of bringing this over the shadows. I don't feel like that is layering very nicely. I don't know, I'm just gonna go ahead and basically put this all over my lid, and then I'm gonna go in with a little bit more of that blue and the purple again after to just layer on top. But I'm mostly building this color up like right in the center of my lid here. So I think the reason why it's just not laying very nicely here is because my eye is kind of watering a bit because I've done a lot of looks in the last 24 hours. So I'm gonna go ahead and take a bit more of that purple and just kind of go over this again. And then I'm also going to take a bit of the blue and just do the same thing on the other side so that most of the shimmer shade is just focused right in the middle of my lid. So you can probably tell that this side is looking a lot better than this side. Like I said, it's just because my eye's been watering, so just ignore that. And then because I just want to be crazy, I don't know if this is a bad idea, but I might as well do it because we're here, you know? And if you don't want to do that, that's totally fine. You can leave it like this and just do the same thing on the lower lash line that you have on the crease. But I'm gonna go ahead and reverse this. So I'm gonna go in with the purple on the outer portion of my lower lash line and then do the blue in the inner portion. And I'll probably also put a little bit of that shade that I have in the middle of my lid in my inner corner. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish off and we can see how this ends up looking. I don't really know where this is going, but let's just try it. So this is where we are at currently. Obviously it's looking kind of crazy, but I'm gonna finish off my eyes, put on a different lipstick. I think that's really going to change the look. I'm also going to do some liner mascara, maybe try to fix this little watery part right here. I don't know if I'll be able to save that patch, but I'm gonna try, and then I'll come back, show you the final look, and I will give you like my review and final thoughts on this palette. Okay, so the look is all done. This eye is looking absolutely crazy. It's taken me like 15 minutes to make it look okay because it just will not stop watering. So just pretend like this eye is this eye and we're all good. For lips, I use my Sorbet Non-Stop Liquid Lipstick in the shade Ribbon. Love this. And then I put the Shane Glossin on top. I think that's what this is called. It's just the gloss that came from the collection. Yeah, Shane Glossin, and I like how this is looking. Now, is this a very crazy look that most people probably wouldn't wear? Absolutely, but that's kind of what I do on my channel, you know? I really feel like makeup is supposed to be something that you have fun with. I personally never wear like everyday looks. Like, I don't remember last time I used only browns on my eyes. Like, that is just not my style, and so it just feels weird for me to force myself to do looks that I wouldn't feel comfortable in. So that is why you're not going to be seeing me doing like everyday looks with this palette or the big palette, probably, because it's just not my style, you know? There's so many other talents out there that do very predictable, very wearable, very everyday bridal makeup and glam makeup and stuff, but that's not what I do on my channel. So if you were looking for that, I'm so sorry, but this might not be the place for you. As for my thoughts on this palette though, I think that all of the shadows perform really, really well. The only issue that I really have is the color story in this. I feel like I was saying earlier, I wish that some of these lighter mattes were shimmers, because it just would have made it a little bit more versatile. Like, I wish there was another light matte or light shimmer and not just this one. Other than that, I think that all of the shades are really, really nice, and I can't really complain because it performs well. I bought this palette knowing the color story, and so I feel like I can't really complain about the color story, but like, if I can make some changes, I would, if that makes sense. So let me know if you got this palette and how you feel about it. Have you tried it yet? Probably not, unless you got it at the Morphe store yesterday like I did. Let me know if you like these looks. Like I said, I know they're kind of crazy, but I still would like to know your favorite, and this eye is just not being friendly today, but it's fine. I'm just gonna have to live with it. That's what happens when you torture your eyes and you do too many looks in a day. So that's gonna be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see some other Jeffree Star content that I have on my channel, if you haven't watched it already, I'll pop a few up on the screen. And if you're new to my channel, I would love it if you would consider subscribing, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.